The FDA has just sounded an alarm that cuts through every humming freezer in America, and it's not a drill. Dangerous frozen foods are slipping through supply chains like silent saboteurs, turning trusted brands into ticking time bombs. Over the past 6 months alone, federal recalls have surged by more than 40%, and contaminated batches have quietly spread to all 50 states. Some are laced with deadly listeria that can kill within days. Others hide sharp bone fragments, undeclared allergens, or pesticide-soaked ingredients smuggled in from overseas. So here's the chilling question no one wants to ask. What if the poison is already sitting in your freezer, dressed up as dinner? If you've been stockpiling frozen convenience foods to stretch every social security check, this may be the most important video you'll ever watch, because what looks like budget survival could actually be sabotaging your health. This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. And today, we're pulling back the frosted curtain to expose 6 frozen products that the FDA says must be thrown out immediately before they quietly destroy everything you've worked to protect. Don't worry, we'll show you safer alternatives at the end of each part. Number 1. Deep. The warning sirens came quietly at first, just a soft bulletin tucked into the FDA website this past July. But now they're blaring loud enough to rattle every freezer door from Maine to California. Deep brand frozen vegetables and sprouted beans, those tidy little bags of authentic comfort tucked behind leftover meatloaf, have been swept into a massive nationwide recall after inspectors discovered salmonella lurking in their icy folds. What began as a small recall in 5 states has now spread like wildfire through all 50, after swabs from the production lines revealed contamination spreading across multiple product batches made between mid-December of last year and mid-August of this year. 11 Americans have already been sickened and 4 hospitalized, with investigators warning that even sealed, untouched bags might be carrying microscopic assassins biding their time in your freezer like sleeper agents in a Cold War thriller. The FDA and CDC are urging consumers to check every bag, scrub every shelf, and treat these vegetables not as food, but as live ammunition left lying around the kitchen. And if that sounds dramatic, it's because the reality behind those frost-covered bags was worse than fiction. Inside the Chetak LLC-owned factory, workers were reportedly crammed into 12-hour shifts like cogs in a rusted clock, many of them too scared to call in sick because one missed day could cost their rent. Former staff described being forced to pack sprouts while running fevers, wiping sweat off their brows with the same gloves used to handle produce. OSHA inspectors later found ammonia leaks hissing from cracked refrigeration pipes, broken coolers that let. Vegetables sit for hours in the bacterial danger zone, and temperature logs that had been quietly forged. It's the kind of place where the air itself was almost flammable. Yet those same products ended up sold as wholesome family staples to retirees trying to stretch their social security checks through the month. If irony were a seasoning, Chetak sprinkled it by the pound. Worse, the vegetables themselves were wearing disguises. Investigators found Chetak had quietly mixed in cheaper imports from overseas plants previously flagged for pesticide residues strong enough to make insects keel over, then rerouted them through shell companies and slapped on product of USA labels like stage costumes. The company boasted about authentic Indian tradition, while using marketing fog to hide a logistical shell game worthy of a mob drama. When reporters demanded answers, the company's lawyers sidestepped the truth with the grace of a greased pig, leaving American consumers holding bags of produce that now look less like dinner and more like evidence. For older Americans who thought they were buying safety in bulk, it's a stomach-turning realization. Like learning the friendly clerk who bagged your groceries has been quietly swapping your apples for arsenic. And here's the kicker: salmonella doesn't die in the cold. It hibernates, waiting for one forgotten stir-fry night to spring back to life. Many infections were brushed off by doctors as just a stomach bug, meaning the real toll may be buried beneath layers of unpaid sick days and hospital bills. Deep didn't just cut corners, they sharpened them into blades. And the people now bleeding are the same Americans already splitting their heart medication to afford groceries. If you want real safety in your freezer, pivot to brands with clean audit trails and strong safety records like Cascadian Farm, Bird's Eye, Green Giant, Alexia, Woodstock, Earthbound Farm, 365 Whole Foods Market, or Stallbush Island Farms. They may cost a few pennies more, but at least you're not gambling your health against a company that turned the word deep into a punchline about how far public trust can fall. Number 2. Boar's Head. Boar's Head has strutted through America's delis for decades like it was royalty on a meat throne. Gold script labels gleaming behind glass, employees slicing with the solemnity of violinists, and that pompous slogan murmuring about premium craftsmanship as if their turkey breast were embroidered at Buckingham Palace. But now the curtain's been yanked back, and what's behind it looks less like nobility and more like a crime scene with a price tag. Federal investigators traced a wave of listeria monocytogenes infections to Boar's Head deli meats churned out of its Jarratt, Virginia plant, and what they found would make a horror novelist lose their appetite. Liverwurst, ham, bologna, and frankfurters stacked like edible landmines, dripping. Condensation from ceiling vents into open bins, while mold crept up the walls like green velvet wallpaper. Between May and September, at least 10 Americans were killed and over 60 hospitalized. And all the while, corporate spokespeople smiled on TV, promising an abundance of caution, like they were offering an hors d'oeuvre instead of damage control. The deeper inspectors dug, the uglier it got. USDA audits from before the outbreak had already flagged biofilm buildup, insect presence, and meat residue accumulation. Phrases that sound clinical until you picture them on the slicer feeding your grandkids lunch. Former workers confessed they were shoved into grueling quotas, forced to slice and pack meat so fast they had to choose between cleaning or keeping their jobs. One whistleblower recalled a supervisor barking, "Clean when the lawyers come," which in corporate translation apparently means never. Others described supervisors threatening to slash hours if anyone mentioned slowing the line to sanitize, creating a system where bacteria were treated like coworkers, always present, never acknowledged. And the filth wasn't just microbial. Labor audits have exposed allegations of wage theft and union busting, with safety complaints mysteriously followed by reassignment to night shifts until people quit. That premium mortadella comes lacquered in human exhaustion, polished with corporate intimidation. Meanwhile, the company's supply chain, sold to consumers as artisanal and elite, actually runs on the same industrial conglomerates pumping out discount meats for the bargain bin. USDA filings show multiple listeria hits at state-level inspections, yet instead of pulling products or warning customers, Boar's Head responded with legal threats to silence retailers and keep the press at bay. They wrap the truth tighter than their cold cuts. Even the moral facade is cracking. Animal welfare watchdogs have exposed their contracted farms using intensive confinement, so cruel it makes a filing cabinet look spacious. Undercover video caught workers kicking live turkeys like deflated footballs and leaving injured pigs to rot in pens, while the company's website hums with stock photos of red barns and sunshine. It's the kind of PR sleight of hand that would make a Vegas magician blush. Distract you with a pastoral postcard while hiding the screams just off camera. Boar's Head didn't just cut corners, they hollowed out integrity and stuffed the shell with branding. Every slice carries layers of exhaustion, neglect, and quiet contempt, yet it still waltzes through supermarkets wrapped in gold foil like it's earned your trust. For older Americans, scraping together Social Security checks to afford a decent sandwich, that's not lunch, it's betrayal served cold. If you want meat that won't gamble with your health or conscience, turn to brands with cleaner safety records and humane certified supply. Chains like Applegate Naturals, Dystal Turkey Ranch, Columbus Craft Meats, Nyman Ranch, Welsher Farms, Peterson's Natural Farms, Plainville Farms, or North Country Smokehouse. They may not come with gold-lettered labels, but at least they don't hide a graveyard behind the deli counter. Number 3. Wegmans. Wegmans has spent years parading through American suburbia like the crown debutante of grocery chains. Polished aisles lined with pastel labels, cheese displays arranged like art exhibits, and cheery employees who chirp, "Have a wonderful day," as if they're sprinkling fairy dust. But beneath that polished veneer is a mess that smells less like lavender sanitizer and more like a compost bin on fire. This northeastern darling has been hit with a trifecta of recalls that sound like the plot twists of a bad food thriller. Chicken nuggets laced with sharp bone fragments, soft cheeses carrying stealth listeria, and chocolate candies hiding undeclared milk allergens like edible booby traps. The nuggets alone, 46-ounce bags of family pack fully cooked breaded chicken breast with rib meat were shipped across nearly a dozen states before complaints about biting down on bone shards started rolling in. Inspectors warned consumers to toss them immediately, and one USDA bulletin even compared the risk to chewing gravel with a blindfold on. But the rot at Wegmans isn't just in the freezer. It's systemic, humming behind the spotless storefront like a broken engine painted gold. FDA and OSHA reports describe scenes straight out of a dark comedy. Raw meat dripping over salad greens, blood pooling under pallets of produce, and bakery workers dodging belts and rollers like contestants on a sadistic game show. Over the years, multiple employees have lost fingertips, suffered burns, or broken bones inside Wegmans facilities, injuries buried under layers of corporate spin and pastel branding. Some ex-workers have gone public, saying managers pressured them to relabel expired produce with fresh stickers, or slice mold off cheese blocks and sell the good parts. That might pass for thriftiness at a yard sale, but in a supermarket, it's just weaponized negligence. And when challenged, Wegmans seems to prefer lawyering over listening. A recent lawsuit from Yuji Haraguchi, owner of the boutique fish shop Osakana, accuses Wegmans of stealing his business model after signing non-disclosure agreements, then launching a copycat in-store Sakanaya fish market with eerily similar fonts, vendor lists, and even staff lingo. Haraguchi calls it theft. Wegmans calls it coincidence. Either way, it paints a brand less like a family grocer and more like a corporate magpie, plucking shiny ideas from small businesses and flying off to profit. Labor watchdogs say the company also crushes union efforts with secret surveillance teams, which sounds less like hospitality and more like a spy movie set in a deli for older Americans who walk into Wegmans believing they're entering a community hub. It's like discovering your local postmaster runs an underground casino behind the stamp counter. Even their local farm fairy tale unravels on contact. Investigations have traced their farm-fresh produce to industrial megafarms thousands of miles away. Fields soaked in pesticide residues above legal limits, worked by laborers collapsing from heat with no clean water, while supervisors dock their pay for loitering. Those vegetables arrive on Wegmans shelves polished and pampered, looking like they came from some idyllic patch of heaven, when really they've survived a system that grinds both soil and souls into profit. It's the corporate equivalent of dressing up a coyote in a bow tie and calling it a house pet. Cute from afar, catastrophic when it bites. Wegmans didn't just cut corners, they turned them into traps, snaring both the shoppers who trust them and the workers who prop them up. For older Americans stretching every social security check to afford safe food, that's not nourishment. It's betrayal shrink-wrapped in cheerfulness. If you want grocery stores that still treat food like something sacred instead of a marketing prop, look to Sprouts Farmers Market, New Seasons Market, Fresh Time Market, Lunds and Byerly's, PCC Community Markets, Erewhon, Central Market, or Mom's Organic Market. They publish third-party audit reports, maintain transparent sourcing, and, most importantly, haven't been caught serving bacteria with a smile. Number 4, Good & Gather. Good & Gather strutted into Target stores like the golden child of modern groceries. Sleek lowercase fonts, muted earth tone packaging, and that smug halo of clean living that makes you feel virtuous just for tossing it in the cart. But peel back the minimalist design, and the illusion shatters like a mason jar on tile. This house brand darling has racked up recalls like merit badges from the underworld, shrimp secretly tucked inside vegetarian burrito bowls, green beans with surprise chunks of foreign metal, and lawsuits accusing their preservative-free sauces of harboring synthetic additives dressed up in wholesome drag. The frozen burrito bowls alone, over 57,000 bags scattered across all 50 states, were quietly pulled in September after it turned out they contained undeclared shrimp, a shellfish allergen that can send vulnerable shoppers into anaphylactic freefall. The FDA warned allergic consumers to toss them or risk turning dinner into a 911 call. And while Target's PR machine coos about guest well-being, insiders paint a grimmer mural. Contract workers describe production lines running so fast that malfunctioning machines sprayed broken metal teeth into food batches like industrial confetti. One whistleblower said supervisors told them to just sieve the big bits out and keep packing, like steel shards were some new artisanal garnish. Former staff recounted being denied bathroom breaks, forced to work 10-hour stretches while stamping wholesome onto snack packs between gulps from contraband water bottles hidden under conveyor belts. OSHA records document repeated safety violations at partner facilities. Lockout-tagout failures, unguarded pinch points, electrical hazards, proving the brand's curated calm is stitched together with panic and duct tape. For older Americans who reached for Good and Gather as a shortcut to safety, it's like finding out your seatbelt was woven from dental floss. Even the ingredients carry the sour aftertaste of deceit. Investigations trace some of their dried fruits and nut blends to overseas suppliers cited for child labor and pesticide residues that would make roaches reconsider their career choices. One orchard tied to their apricot supply was flagged for using chlorpyrifos, a neurotoxic pesticide banned in the US, while children picked fruit barehanded in toxic dust. Instead of cutting ties, Target quietly scrubbed country of origin labels, turning geography into a marketing suggestion. And their legal team has been busy too. Class action suits accuse their pasta sauces and veggie straws of false, no preservatives claims, while another lawsuit says their freeze-dried peach slices are mostly empty space. Slack fill so blatant the packages might as well echo. It's deception in HD, sold with a smiley sticker. When recalls hit, Target wrapped the bad news in soft-focus PR fluff, issuing pastel press statements about their commitment to safety, while refusing to list which stores carried the tainted batches. Shoppers were left to play pantry roulette, guessing which bag of trail mix might double as shrapnel. That isn't transparency, it's corporate gaslighting with sprinkles. For older Americans juggling blood pressure meds and tight grocery budgets, that gamble isn't quirky, it's lethal. Good and Gather didn't just slip up. They built an empire on trust and then hollowed it out like a chocolate Easter bunny, leaving only a glossy shell stuffed with filth, exploitation, and fraud. For families who thought they were buying peace of mind, discovering this feels like realizing your smoke alarm only plays a recording of someone yelling, "Fire," after the house is already ash. If you want food that won't turn your pantry into a crime scene, look to brands like Kind, Nature's Path, Made in Nature, Purely Elizabeth, Back to Nature, Lesser Evil, Thrive Market, or Sunmade. Companies that publish third-party safety audits and have kept their products free of recent allergen or metal contamination scandals. Number 5. Gooder Foods. Gooder Foods marched onto supermarket shelves like the tech startup of comfort food. Celebrity investors, neon branding, and boxed mac and cheese sold as if they'd hacked childhood nostalgia and uploaded it to the cloud. Their Goodles line flaunted plant-based spirals and grown up flavors with the swagger of a TED Talk in noodle form. But this September, the sparkle cracked, because hiding inside those pastel boxes were invisible saboteurs, undeclared allergens. Federal regulators forced the company to recall multiple lots of its Vegan is Believin' white cheddar spirals, and Here Comes Truffle cheddar shells after they were found to contain milk and cashews not listed on their labels. 8 allergic reactions had already been reported, 6 from the truffle flavor, 2 from the vegan one, and the FDA classified the recall as serious because milk and tree nuts can trigger anaphylaxis, a reaction that closes airways like a trap door. The official notice lists lot codes like 09725N through 10125N for vegan, and 10125N through 10525N for truffle, with Best By dates stretching into July 2026. In short, what looked like whimsical dinner fodder turned out to be biochemical landmines hiding in America's pantries, and the way it happened makes the betrayal feel sharper. Internal quality control notes, now circulating among industry insiders, describe production rooms where allergen segregation lines blurred like watercolor on damp paper. Former workers said cleaning crews were rushed so aggressively between production runs that cashew powder still floated like desert dust when vegan batches rolled through. One recalled asking if they should delay the line to clean properly and being told, "Marketing already posted the launch. Just keep it moving." That's not quality assurance. That's Russian roulette with better lighting. OSHA reports show these same facilities have been cited for allergen cross-contact hazards before, which makes Gooders' "we were surprised" defense about as convincing as a fox claiming it accidentally wandered into the henhouse. Even their so-called better-for-you ethos starts to look like a prop once you peek behind the curtain. Gooder built its brand on pastel packaging and celebrity endorsements. Gal Gadot, Christina Aguilera, Klay Thompson, parading their noodles on Instagram like edible pelotons. Meanwhile, supply chain audits traced some of their enriched pasta ingredients to overseas processors flagged for using untested well water and operating without allergen control documentation. It's like bragging your kitchen is spotless while outsourcing your ingredients to a sandbox. And while Gooder insists this recall is a one-off, consumer watchdogs are pointing out that one-off doesn't mean harmless when you're dealing with allergens that can kill within minutes. When the backlash hit, Gooder's crisis response was pure theater. They issued chirpy commitment to safety press statements without listing affected store channels, forcing parents to stand in their kitchens holding boxes like they were trying to guess which one was wired to explode. Their social media team kept pushing cheerful noodle gifs while quietly deleting comment. Threads full of panic. It was less damage control and more damage denial, a company trying to Photoshop trust back onto a burning brand. Gooder Foods didn't just mess up. They gambled with the lives of allergy-prone children and the peace of mind of exhausted, cash-strapped parents who just wanted a fast meal that wouldn't send anyone to the ER. For older Americans watching grandkids twirl these noodles with innocent glee, the horror isn't just in what's inside the box. It's in realizing that trust itself was shredded, mixed in, and baked until unrecognizable. If you want mac and cheese that won't double as a medical emergency, look to brands like Annie's Homegrown, Bansa, Jovial, Lundberg Family Farms, DiCecco, Tinchiata, Field Day, or Ancient Harvest. Companies that maintain third-party allergen audits and have steered clear of undeclared allergen scandals. They may lack the influence or sparkle, but at least they won't hide a hospital visit under your cheese sauce. Number 6. Breyers. Breyers has long strutted through American freezers like the crowned prince of dessert. Sleek black tubs, silky swirls, and ad jingles crooning pure joy as if each scoop were dipped straight from a childhood memory. But this June, that royal image cracked like brittle caramel. The FDA forced a nationwide recall of nearly 7,000 tubs after discovering that containers labeled chocolate truffle were secretly filled with Rocky Road, complete with hidden almonds. For anyone with nut allergies, that isn't just a mix-up. It's a game of Russian roulette in pint form. The affected tubs carried the lot code JUL1026GB3 and a best buy of July 10, 2026, and regulators warned that even one spoonful could send sensitive eaters gasping to the ER, while Breyers' social media cheerfully chirped about summer smiles. It was a chilling reminder that the only thing rocky about Rocky Road should be the name, and the betrayal runs deeper than a misprinted label. It's baked into Breyers' corporate DNA like freezer burn. Just months before, Unilever agreed to pay $8.85 million to settle a class action lawsuit over its so-called natural vanilla flavor, after plaintiffs exposed that its flavoring wasn't purely vanilla at all, but cobbled together from non-vanilla plant sources. Consumers had been paying extra for the illusion of authenticity while getting a chemistry experiment in disguise. Critics have since flagged other flavors, like mint chocolate chip, for suggesting real mint when they mostly rely on generic natural flavors, a phrase so vague it might as well be pixie dust. Meanwhile, Breyers quietly shifted many of its products from ice cream to frozen dairy dessert, a legal downgrade triggered when they replaced actual cream with corn syrup solids and pumped in so much air the product nearly floats. They called it a lighter option. Translation, less. Cream, more profit, and you're paying premium prices for whipped cold sugar fog. And while their marketing purrs about simple ingredients, the supply chains tell a grimmer story. Investigations by human rights groups traced some of their cocoa to West African farms where children wield machetes longer than their arms, hauling sacks of beans heavier than they are for pennies a day while breathing pesticide dust. Breyers wrapped that pain in vanilla-scented nostalgia, selling family happiness built on shattered childhoods halfway across the globe. Even their own workers weren't spared the frostbite. Former employees described 14-hour shifts in rooms so cold their fingers cracked and bled, with supervisors telling them to move faster to stay warm. OSHA logs list frost burns, chemical leaks, and unguarded machinery, while leaked emails showed managers warning staff not to cause noise or risk being replaced before the next batch sets. Happiness by the scoop loses its charm when the people making it are treated like disposable spoons. Breyers didn't just melt, it curdled from the inside out. They sold the illusion of purity while stuffing it with allergens, labor abuse, and smoke and mirror marketing, daring to call it joy. For older Americans reaching for the same brand they trusted as kids, the real shock isn't what's in the tub. It's realizing that trust itself has been churned, fluffed, and emptied until nothing solid remains. If you want ice cream that won't play allergy roulette or nostalgia charades, reach for brands like Alden's Organic, Strauss Family Creamery, McConnell's Fine Ice Creams, Jenny's Splendid Ice Creams, Van Leeuwen, Graeter's Three Twins, or Blue Marble. Companies that publish ethical sourcing audits and have steered clear of allergen mislabeling and child labor scandals, proving sweetness doesn't have to come with a side of deceit. Before you take another bite, question what's really on your plate. Then subscribe and uncover the truths they hide.
Thank you for watching all the way to the end. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our daily content. Now feel free to check out some of the newest and best videos currently shown on your screen. Goodbye, and see you in the next video.